this podcast is really about like my road to recovery after everything our family went through. And personally, it's been a year since I started yoga with you, and I didn't really know anything about yoga before I started your classes. And I think I had a bit of a fear of yoga, to be honest. Like the power flow was all I knew about it, but I kept being kind of guided to more of like the restorative rest side of yoga, which I just didn't understand. And then again, I don't believe in coincidences. I ended up renting a house like right up the street from where you are in your studio. And I feel like my guide sort of led me to you. And when I came to you, I was in tatters. Like I remember thinking like I can't sit through this class without crying, and but you were so beautiful and loving and warm and welcoming, and I kept coming back because of that, first and foremost. And you are so wise and knowledgeable about the body and about the form, and that really comes through in your teaching approach. And we have the most beautiful class, and everyone's in various different levels, or they're recovering from all these different things. And you don't miss a beat when we're like, I need this today or that today. And you just flow so beautifully. And it truly creates such an environment for healing. And I just kind of want to share that because I don't know if a lot of people understand, or if someone is recovering from trauma or PTSD specifically. I'm sort of just wanting to share how much it's helped me, because here I am a year later, and my nervous system does feel far more regulated, and that wasn't a quick fix, but it was showing up twice a week with you in the studio and working through it, working through the blocks, working through the triggers in the body and all the different things. So I just kind of want to highlight that because I just feel like if that helps one person, then that's worth it for me. So tell me a little bit about maybe how you got into yoga.
I began my yoga journey 30 years ago when I was almost 30 years of age. So now I've given my age away. And I had a knee injury that I wanted to heal so that I could do all the sporty things I love, but also my career back then was I worked as a firefighter, which is how I injured my knee. So obviously working as a firefighter is very physically demanding. And I went to yoga with the pure intention of I'm going to heal my knee and be back to my active life. And that did happen, yes. But what happened that was more enriching and more rewarding for my life was yoga helped me come back to who I am and to honor myself and live a life based on the life that I was meant to live. So yoga helped me stand in my own power and my own strength, as well as healed my physical body. It helped me tap into my potential. That's why I started teaching yoga after studying for a number of years. I wanted to share how the practice of yoga can help you live a better life and a life where you're honoring yourself on all levels.
You really do that. It really translates in your approach. And I just love that. I think that's so important to share because not many people, I think, know about yoga and know that it truly can help you reclaim your power, help you come more to center, help you anchor inward rather than outward.
Yeah, that's right. And the other sort of avenue of my sort of more philosophical life lessons have come from my connection with my Hawaiian teachers, that is on the Hawaiian philosophy. And they teach that to become pa'a, meaning solid or pa'a is to know who you are, and what you're here for. And when you are pa'a, you walk your line of truth, which means you're not venturing off on lots of different courses from external I suppose, external influences, because you know what's your truth in amongst this life that has so many different opportunities or chances to do something different. So I feel like I merged the ancient yoga practices with the ancient Hawaiian philosophy teachings into my own life. And it's something that's really important. I feel if you're going to be in the role of helping people to walk their truth and be in their truth and be embodied in who they are, you have to be there first.
Mm,
And so I often, when I've written a number of teacher training programs on these type of teachings that I share with yourself and others that you've met in my studio. And I share with the teachers, take all of this knowledge and these practices, live them and embody them. And then when they're felt within, they'll naturally flow out.
mm, I love that. That's what I'm curious. Once I met you and started taking your classes, I've done some different things, and yours seems to be very fluid. I love that each beautiful soul in the room on a mat is experiencing a different age, stage, modality of life, right? Whether it's me coming in trying to reclaim my nervous system or a fellow friend who's recovering from surgery or whatnot. But you flow so beautifully and easily. And I do believe that you do bring a different approach. And again, your Hawaiian love for that and your share of your philosophy does flow through. And again, it feels very unique. Like your science of your yoga feels so beautiful and unique and like its own like medicine. I've never experienced anything else. And I know a friend of mine who I've brought to classes, she's even like, every time I finish a class with Gena, I feel there's something very special about it. And I love what you said because that comes through in what you do. And I believe that's why the healing can take place. Like I think our bodies are wired to heal. We're wired to feel better if we are in alignment and we are on, listening and on path. I don't think we want to stay in pain or suffering, even though the human journey is full of that. There's also so much love and joy as well. And I think you create this beautiful environment to allow the healing to come through, to, yes, allow the grief to process or the stored trauma in the body. And then it's like once that comes through out my body, I feel like then I can receive the healing that my body's ready to bring in as well. So it's like you do hold this beautiful dance between both. And I think it's really special. And I just think if more people knew about this or even just tried it, it would give their body and their spirit and their soul and their psyche more opportunities to allow the healing to take place or the peace that inner peace that alignment that it's quiet, it's not chaotic or distracting. It's like it's listening to the inner knowing and being okay with the peace of it all. Um, I wanted to ask you too, how did you get into the sound bath component? Because personally, for me, that has been such an incredible modality. And I do feel better when I leave the studio. Like I feel an alignment. Like what's happening there? Can you explain that a little bit so that maybe listeners can understand what you're doing when you're doing the sound bath component with the Yoga Nidra?
Yeah. So look, I suppose let me speak to the nervous system first. When someone is in chronic state of pain or illness or trauma, often the body is no longer a safe haven. So my role, I've created the role in which I have, which is I'm not a guru, I'm not a healer, I'm not healing you. I'm giving you the chance to heal yourself by supporting those who are in chronic states of pain, illness, tension, trauma, or even mind states where the mind just can't stop and they can't sleep So whatever the ailment that's stopping a person from being fully at peace in who they are in the world, my role is to help them embody themselves more fully, to be present to themselves more fully, because your nervous system needs both sides. Often the parasympathetic and the sympathetic are not given their kudos, so to speak. Like people talk about the sympathetic as this bad state of the nervous system. And this bad state of sympathetic, I just need to now get to parasympathetic, and that's the good state. Well, the reality is we need both. We need our parasympathetic nervous system for calm, for rest, for digestion, for peace. Then we need our sympathetic to action what we want to action in life and to be active in life. And so what happens is that through culture or home, family, society, cultural ways, the brain and nervous system have been taught to be active and doing, but they haven't necessarily been taught how to really truly rest. And that word rest in itself, or relax, if you were to say to someone that's never known how to truly rest or relax, and you say, just relax, nothing to worry about, like that means nothing. So until a person has a felt experience of true rest and true restoration, they can't necessarily know how to do it. So the practices I teach aim to help a person pay attention to their body. How is your body feeling today? What's tense? What's not tense? How is your breath moving today? Is it smooth and even or sharp and short? What is happening? And what is the state of your mind? So the inquiry becomes the practice. And the more you practice something, the better at it you get. And you would know that through your singing. Yeah. So with the restorative and somatic movement practices that I teach, I'm aiming to help someone learn what true relaxation feels like, and then to inhabit and be present to their body fully, to all of its messages, all of its sensations, all of the wisdom it's wanting to tell you. And then the whispers that maybe you've heard background of life become really clear voices. And once you have the clear voices from within, they're your guides and they can guide you day to day. And if you think about your body thriving on your presence, the more present you become to your body, the more it will self-regulate and self-heal. Lacking of presence and disassociation, which we've all done to different degrees. Some just completely switch out of their body because it does not feel safe. Some have had an injury where that part of the body is like, I can't go there. So in whichever way a person has become disassociated, well, the opposite of that is presence.
Mm.
So the more present you can become to your body, to your breath, to your mind, and to all the sensations that arise, you then naturally ignite your body's healing response.
Mm.
So your body can self-regulate and it can self-heal. But guess what? It can only self-regulate and self-heal when you are in the calm side of your central nervous system, the parasympathetic. And if a person's not getting there at all or not frequently enough, the body cannot self-heal, self-regulate.
I think that's what I want to share too, like my journey with starting with you, it was a slow micro movement. I myself wasn't really capable of really letting go and feeling safe and secure. Like my mind could look around and say, I'm safe here, my kids are safe here, we're safe here, but like it still took my my heart and my body longer to catch up with like the cognitive awareness of like we're safe here, you know, there's not as many guns at school. Like it just took a long time. And I don't think that's everyone's timeline. I'm sure everyone has their own individual timeline. But for me personally, like it did feel like a really long time. And I had to be so brave and keep going and keep coming. And there were times in class where I was like struggling. But when I worked through those, it was like a little tiny micro step up the ladder, but it was because it was like I couldn't just like blow my body out of the water. It was like I had to really be kind and gentle and loving and so slow and like reassure. And I do think coming 2 days a week for an hour at a time over the scale of a year did finally help me rewire those neural pathways, which I love what you just shared because it's not a quick wave a magic wand, which I think so many people now are looking for too. Like, oh, give me the quick fix. But it's like you have to want to heal. You have to want to feel better and you have to want peace from the inside out, I think.
Yeah, that's right. And look, it's interesting you bring up that your mind says, I am safe. But the reality is this, and look, there's nothing wrong. In fact, having positive affirmations or mantras and a mind that will say, I am okay. That's great because that helps with the process. But the reality is this, your mind doesn't tell your cells and tissues anything regarding the, the the journey itself for the mind and the nervous system to heal is that your cells and your tissues of your physical body need to have the frequency of wholeness and healing, and they inform your brain and your heart and your nervous system. So the cells and the tissues and the state they're in, which might be for some, and particularly in your case with the trauma of being involved in a mass shooting, which is extremely terrifying, that means that your cells and tissues, your nervous system are guarding and they're protecting you. And now they're in a state of protection. And now they're perceiving any potential threat as a threat, even if it's not. So overriding that with thoughts of I am safe, I am okay, that's one small step. But the bigger step is to become very present to your body and your sensations and your breath and soothe your whole being. And when your cells and your tissues are in a state of hydration and ease, and your nervous system is in a state of ease, a whole new message comes through your wiring, as you called it, is that your nervous system receives a new message, your fascial system receives a new message, your mind receives a new message. And taking those steps to commit to a change in how you're going to live your life, being willing to take those sometimes very challenging steps. Like I'm sure the first time you walked up the stairs to my studio, you thought, I don't know this person, and what am I doing, and how is this going to help me?
Yes. I wasn't living. I was broken. I was like, I had to be broken open. I was so broken that I just knew I needed help and I needed it what I was doing wasn't working. I was like, I got to try something different because the same approach isn't working. I know that much. And the presence of being present, you gave me that. And Gina, I mean, there's those poses sitting in there and I'd be just crying, right? Not like hysterical, disrupting the class, but emotions were finally moving. I felt like I was frozen and I could just finally allow the grief to start moving. And then you helped that so much. I don't think I could even rest the nervous system until I even started to let that trapped grief move out of the body too, out of the cells.
These these the either fear, grief, deep sadness, deep hurt, like it will freeze a person. And so you have taken a path of being committed to healing yourself, for your children, for your husband, for your life. And by saying, what's happening or what I've been doing hasn't been working. So what else could I try? So I would love to see more people exploring these methods of what I share is a combination of somatic movement practices, which is the Feldenkrais movement, the Feldenkrais method, the Franklin method, and the continuum method. And continuum method is was actually created by a woman named Emily Conrad from the US who worked with spinal cord injuries, and these methods she was creating to help people that had pretty severe spinal cord injuries. And the success she was seeing was phenomenal. So she thought, well, why wouldn't this help everyone? Anyone that just even has a tight spine, let alone an injured spinal cord. And so now it's a global practice. And so if you have people that you're connected to in the US looking for something that's similar to this, I would send them to a continuum, a Feldenkrais method, or a Franklin method teacher, or at least influence teacher. I've also studied the restorative yoga with Judith Lassiter and Donna Farhi. And most Americans do know Donna Farhi. So again, they could look toward a teacher that has been trained by someone that understands the depths of the structure and the mechanisms that are available to us to heal. It's very different to, someone that's done a 200-hour teacher training and might be at the start of their journey. So you're often looking for teachers that have been teaching for longer and that have expanded their skill set to have more knowledge, knowledge of trauma-informed yoga, knowledge of somatic movement practices, which help a person become more embodied. And the third part that I bring in, which I'll come back to now, you asked earlier about the Tibetan singing bowl and the vibrational sound healing. And sound, as you know, through music, is so healing and so moving. Like, what moves us so much to from a memory of now to 20 or 30 or 40 years ago, a song or a tune can do that in a moment. And we're talking and singing to Dolly Parton,
I know
and
that was so made dancing and singing.
yeah, and the
Your
joy.
playlists are always spot on too, though. They help marriage the somatic movement and the breathing, and your music absolutely heals me. And then the sound bowls are another level and layer of it. So I love that you mentioned that because I do believe all of it together is so important. And I love that you shared the different training methods for people back in America to look specifically for, because I do think I needed someone with your wisdom. I needed someone with your lived experience, with your heart open. And I felt safe within that. And I do think, and you gave me this book like the second time I came to see you too, which overcoming trauma through yoga, like that even helped me to read on that and to find different resources. And there are looking, and I do think, had I gotten thrown into like a hot yoga or something, like I would have just triggered my nervous system all over again.
Yeah, some of the practices actually keep you in that heightened state of your nervous system. Oddly, some people would say, why are they so popular? Because in Melbourne, when I was running my studio, I ran a studio for 10 years, which was called Ohana Yoga. and I took people to Hawaii every year on retreat and weave those principles of the Hawaiian philosophy and the yoga and the somatic movement together. But the question I would get would be, in a world of in Melbourne, every studio on every second corner is hot flow, power yoga, more power yoga, and they were full. And I didn't look at what anyone else was doing. I set my studio up based on my learnings, my healing, my growth into being a whole person. And I found teachers that were aligned. And as our team evolved, we everyone in my team had studied yoga for trauma, and they would come to my teacher trainings to broaden that way of helping people feel okay to come through that front door. Because people that have been in trauma, as you know, it can take you a long time, maybe months or years, to even step out of your door and then go through the door of what's deemed a yoga studio or a sound healing room. And when you greet someone in a way that helps them feel safe from the moment they enter, you set them up for potential healing. And so my studio had the foundation of, we are here to be authentic and to offer healing practices to help people feel safe. And our studio had a lineup for the restorative yoga practices. People would sit on a bench hoping to get in there so they didn't have to go to the flow class.
Yeah.
But the question would always arise, like, we know when we come to this type of practice that's so soothing and so nourishing and so healing and feels so good, why is it that these other practices get all this airplay and are so popular? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them whatsoever, but that dynamic movement that keeps you on the go, it's what people are used to. So when you're comfortable, you just keep doing what you're comfortable with.
I wasn't sleeping when I found you, though. Like, I wasn't even resting. And so the hour class, I think, because even in my sleep, I was like waiting for the shoe to drop, or I was like one eye open for the kids. Like, so I do think too, whatever being in that yogic sleep started to give me energy and rest at a cellular level, because it almost like bypassed my conscious mind. So I wasn't stressed about, am I sleeping? Am I getting adequate sleep in order to live my life and look after my kids and heal? It helped start to slowly put money back into the bank account of rest. And because you can't go from nothing to nothing. Like, I was so empty. My cells were so empty. Like, again, it was such a micro movement. And I didn't know about this yogic sleep or this practice that did slowly. It was so loving and kind and gentle, and truly has given me back my life.
You have such a beautiful spark to share with the world. And so when you come back to who you are, your spark lights up the rest of the world. So I'm so happy to hear that. And I'll just talk to the Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra means sleepy yoga. You lie on the ground so you're not feeling uncomfortable by sitting in a position that your back begins to ache or your neck is sore or your knees hurt. So it's a comfortable lying position. It is a systematic guided meditation that is aimed to help use the part of your brain, the cerebellum, which is at the base of your brain, which is the deep communicating down through the deep stem of the brain where your unconscious mind, memories, and storage resides. So different parts of our brain are affected by and have different skill sets for helping us be creative with art or be knowledgeable with maths. And then there's the connection to our unconscious mind. Now, most of our habits, our patterns, our belief systems, our fears live within the unconscious mind. And the unconscious mind never sleeps. It's always there to alert you in case of danger. So when a person is experiencing the Yoga Nidra practice, which is systematically guided to have the cerebellum find where your body is relating to the ground, gravity, and space. Feel the parts of your body, your face, your jaw, your eyes, your ear, and feeling the weight of your body on the ground. Then it's guided towards feeling hot or feeling cool or feeling heavy or feeling light. So you're feeling different sensations. Then you're going into, well, how is the body breathing? And maybe there's a counting of the breaths, or maybe there's just an ocean wave of breath. And from there, there's a journey. And the journey might be that you're imagining a place in nature where you feel completely at peace and you visualize the colors, the textures, the sounds. It could also be that you've climbed a mountain and you're looking out to the snow-capped mountain peaks and you're taking in their awe and their beauty. There's many, many examples of the journey section, but each of the sections of Yoga Nidra is systematic and needs to be guided by the Yoga Nidra guide in the same manner to enable the person receiving to feel safe, to kind of have an imprint that gets stronger and stronger the more they practice Yoga Nidra. And that imprint over time changes that brain nervous system network. So if you've been wired to stay alert all the time and you can't rest and you can't sleep, the Yoga Nidra, and not even over a long period of time, a lot of people will say after a couple Yoga Nidra classes, I am now sleeping better.
Yeah,
And
that's
the
happened.
reason being is your body doesn't want to be scared, tight, in pain, or in illness. It wants to be free and open and communicative. So given the chance, your body will go toward what is free and open versus what is tight and closed.
Absolutely. And it definitely created that opportunity for me. Um, and I think that it allowed the healing to begin. You end each class with a mudra, and I've never known about a mudra. It's so beautiful, but do you mind just sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So it's an ancient practice of hand mudras. And as an example, we can try this one. All your fingertips touch, and you imagine that inside of this circle that you created with your fingers is a globe of energy. And now we're going to give it a color. So you're going to pick a color. My color today is turquoise blue, like the ocean. And now I'm going to visualize that the breath will flow up the left side of the body and down the right, integrating the left and the right, the feminine, the masculine, the creative, and the logical. Next, we're going to draw the breath up the front of the body and down the back, visualizing a wave of breath and color rising up the front and floating down the back, integrating conscious and unconscious, seen and unseen, known and unknown. And next, we're going to feel the breath moving down through the body and anchoring the body on this living earth, a grounding, flowing downward practice through the body, anchoring the body to the earth and stability, the stability of the earth. And then we're going to feel the breath rise up and lift you up towards the heavens, the cosmos, to new possibilities, lifting you up and opening you up. And finally, we're going to feel the breath moving everywhere, the front, the back, the left, the right, rising through the body and then grounding the body. And this particular mudra, the Hakini mudra, is an integration of all the levels and layers of your being to help you live your life with greater peace and harmony, because integration equals harmony. So each mudra, each hand gesture has its own unique expression.
That's a little bit of Gina's magic, y'all, right there. I'm just going to tell you, thank you for sharing that because that's that's just a snippet. If anyone wants to work with you, you have a website, you do trainings. Where can people find you if they would like to learn or study under you potentially?
Yeah, the easiest thing is to go to my website, which is simply Gena Kenny Yoga. And I also have a YouTube channel. And in fact, there's about 35 Yoga Nidra meditations on my YouTube channel. There's Gena Kenny Yoga on the YouTube and Gena, not Gina.
I'll link all the links in the show notes so that beautiful souls, if they want to, that they can click on the links. I also just want to, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being my first guest, and I truly believe that this can help other souls. And thank you for sharing your heart with me and your kindness and your thoughtfulness. And you have been one of those beautiful soul friends that I felt the moment I met you, and I know I've found you for a reason, and your kindness is just such a gift. I mean, we shared recently this week around the passing of Dolly and we talked about her, but you carry that same spark, that same light, that same effervescence of love in everything you do. And you truly are making the world a better place. So thank you for being such an incredible ally for me on this journey. And I just look forward to growing with you further through yoga and also through our friendship. And I just am excited at, how many people this can hopefully help or help provide another option or another opportunity to feel better and to reclaim their power, their light, their spark of life that we each is our birthright. We're all born with a birthright of the abundance of unconditional love. And we all have to take, I think, radical self responsibility to take back that sovereignty. And I just encourage everyone to stay brave and to keep their hearts open and to, forgive. I just think the only way through that is through forgiveness, compassion, and unconditional love for self and all others. So thank you. You're such a treasure.
I'm grateful to be your first guest and to be your yoga teacher and friend. Thank you so
Mm.
much.
Thank you, Gina. Blessings to you.